graders, we're ready to do some more math today, and we are going to work with graphs. I love graphs. This has always been very much a favorite part of math for me. And we use graphs in daily life all the time. I see them in news articles, I see them online, just telling different information, and love graphs because I am such a visual person. I love it. It explains information in a way that I can see, not just hear about, so I love it. So I hope you enjoy them too. All right, we are on lesson 93. This is the lesson in the book about graphs. That is on page 610. Page 610. If you look at the title on that page, it says comparative graphs. We are looking at graphs here in this lesson that compare two sets of information for two different things so that we can compare them, okay? Now the first kind of graph we're going to look at is a bar graph, okay? Excuse me. If you look at the graph that's on page 611, there is a bar graph, and you will always see on a graph, on a bar graph, there's going to be information on the side and information on the bottom. There's always going to be a title too. If you see this one up here, we do need to always write a title for our graph. This one was average daily high temperatures. Do you see that? Now, on the side, they put what the temperature is, and you're going to have little marks that are going to help you know how high to draw your bars. Kind of like a ruler almost, okay? Little tick marks on it. And this was temperatures. It's hard writing sideways here. Okay, temperatures. In Fahrenheit is what they had. And what you have to do when you're deciding how to make a graph is to decide, okay, how should I count by fives for the degrees? Should I count by tens? Should I count by hundreds? What should I count by? You have to do what makes sense, okay? They chose to count each bar as 10, but they're only writing the number every other one. So that one's 10, so they did a 20 here, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. I don't think they put a 120. They did it. If it got, since we're talking about temperatures, if we're 120, that's way hot. Okay, so they ended actually at 80. They ended right there. Okay, so what each bar is showing, it's showing the difference in temperature in a location, the difference between January and July. Okay, so let's look at the first one. The first set of bars was for Rome. Okay, so I'm going to write Rome down here because we have to label what each bar is. So we're going to use two different colors to make the bars though. One to stand for January. And you know what? We'll do January in red because we need fires in January. Well, no, let's do January in green because that's a cooler color. Okay, so we have to make a little legend over here so that we know what we're talking about. So that's going to show that January is the green bar, and we'll do July as the red bar because that's so hot. So we'll use the hot color for July. Okay? All right. Now, they got information from somewhere that told them that the temperature in January, it looks like it's just over 50 degrees. Probably like 52. Okay? So they made, I need the green one. They made a bar that goes just above the 50. They colored it in. We're going to color ours green because that's our January one. Okay, and then in July, it looks like it was 85 degrees in July. So it went up here, and do you see how it goes to the 85? Ooh, I went to... No, it went to the 90. I'm looking at it again. It went clear to this line here. So it went to 90 degrees in July. So then you color that in. Do you see how by looking at that, just one glance, I can say, oh my, it is way hotter in Rome in July than it is in January. And then they went on to 4 more cities: Caracas, Venezuela, Sydney, Australia, Paris, France, and Tokyo, Japan. And when you put those different cities up there together, you can compare the cities too. That's why it's very visual information. That's what I love so much about it. Which city looks like it has the least amount of change between January and July? Which one has the two lines, the pair of lines for the city the closest to each other? Looks like Caracas, isn't it? Do you know why that would be? Caracas is near the equator. And so there's less of a swing of temperatures. The seasons don't change very drastically when you're near the equator. As you get down to the South Pole and the North Pole, that's when you end up with super cold winters. And the further you get toward the middle of the world, it's less change. So Caracas doesn't have that much change. And so just a little bit hotter in July than in January. It looks like July in Caracas is about 78. Boy, that sounds nice. And it looks like January is around 70. So very similar. And I'm reading that off of these little side temperature numbers over here. That's how I know. It depends how high that bar goes. Okay? You get it with bar graphs? I love bar graphs. Okay, there's one other kind of graph we're going to look at, and that is a line graph. I know that you have worked with both these kind of graphs before, so this is kind of a refresher to you, but it's a good thing to be practicing. Okay, I'm going to erase this so that we have space for you to see our line graph. All right, I need a horizontal and a vertical line here to make my little line graph. We need to put numbers up. We have population on this side. You have to label what you are measuring on each side of your graph. What is the measurement this way, and what is the information that's happening here? The thing that line graphs are good for is telling of change over time. Okay? I've seen a lot of line graphs lately over the change of how many people lately have been sick with coronavirus. This is a very relevant one. And it will show, okay, in February there were this many people sick, in March there were this many people sick, and in April there were this many people sick, now in May there's this many people sick. And so you can see the line go up, down, and here's the good news. The line had been going up, now it's going down. We have less people getting sick, which is why we can get together really soon. But that's information that's really good to put in a line graph. Okay, on the one they're showing here, they are showing population change in 2 different cities, okay? And if you look at the legend, remember I said every map needs a legend over, not every map, every graph needs a legend over on the side. They said that the dark blue line was Austin, I'm gonna make it green, and that the light blue line was Pittsburgh. And that one, I'll make it red. Okay. Oh, I'm supposed to make the line underneath it. Whoops. There. Okay, so on the side here, they counted each line 100,000. So this was like 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, and on, so as it goes up. And then down here on the bottom, they did years. They started in 1950. And then the next segment is 1960. So they went 10 years at a time, and they kept doing the years across there. So we could see that in the city of Austin, it looks like the population started out just over 100,000 back in 1960. And each 10 years, they put a dot. Well, that one should be a little higher, of where the population was. And you can see those dots are going up, and then you connect them all, and it makes a line. We can see that over time, the population in, oh no, I used the wrong color, didn't I? No, I did. Yes, I did. That should have been green. Hold on. I gotta make it fit our legend. Here we go. Green, and it keeps getting higher, and it makes there is my Austin population. It's getting greater and greater as time goes on. And you know, this graph ends at the year 2000, but I happen to know the population of Austin is still getting bigger. It's a popular place to move to right now. Now, the population of Pittsburgh, that's the one we were using red on. It started at 700,000 back in 1950. And if you watch where those dots go, they get lower and lower until in the year 2000, they were down at below 400,000, about 350,000. And you can see that line going down. So it's the change of something over time. Just by looking at this graph, we see Austin's population is going up, Pittsburgh's population is going down. Make sense? Okay, I love graphs. Your assignment today is going to be similar to yesterday because graphs take up so much space that they don't give you very much to do. Okay, so I had to add an extra worksheet in for you. You're going to do the lesson practice is on pages 612 and 613. So you're doing pages 612 and 613. And guess what? There's only 2 problems. A and B. Okay? That's all that it is. Now, granted, you have to draw a graph for A, okay, and for B. But let me get you started on some of that. And then you are also going to do one problem on your worksheet. Okay, lesson 93 worksheet. And this one has just one problem on it where they've given you the basic graph and you're gonna just draw bars on it. The last part is the lessons, worksheet 7.5. Okay, that is 3 things again, but they go quick. You're gonna love it. Okay, so let me erase this and I'm gonna help you set up your graphs. Let's look at the lesson practice part first. Okay. It asks you on your lesson practice on page 612, it gives you a box with some information. And it says, Chinara, Alice, Terrell, and Manuel each wrote 2 stories. They must have been doing it for language arts. The number of paragraphs per story is shown in the table below. Okay, so for some reason, they needed to keep track of how many paragraphs they'd written. They were probably trying to maybe increase the length of their stories, so they were keeping track. So, we want to set this one up as a bar graph, and it says, make a comparative horizontal bar graph to show the scores. There should be 2 bars for each student. Now, we had looked at a vertical bar graph. We can do the same thing with the lines going horizontally. You've seen them that way before, okay? So, we're gonna make our graph that looks like this. We need to put a title on it, and we're gonna call it paragraphs per story. There's the title at the top, okay? Now, over on this side, we're gonna write the names of the kids. Chinara, who's next? Chinara, Alice, Terrell, and Manuel. Alice, Terrell, and I don't know if I spelled that right. How about that? I don't know. Manuel. Okay, so there are their names. Across the bottom, we're gonna say, because this is our measurement part, we're gonna put our number of paragraphs. So we're gonna make a 2, 4, 6, 8. Did anyone, how many? Oh, someone went to 10. So we've got to make sure that this makes it to 10. All right? All right. Now, what are the 2 things we're comparing for each kid? We're comparing story 1 and story 2. So you're going to need to use something that has another color. You need your pencil and something with like a pen with color. Just don't make mistakes because you can't erase it. Or 2 colored pencils, whatever you want to use. We're going to make a legend. Let's get rid of that old legend we don't need anymore. And we're going to say that green is story 1 and that red is story 2, okay? And then for each kiddo, you are going to put on the graph 2 lines, a green, well, you don't have to use green and red, use whatever colors you want. I'm gonna be using green and red for how many paragraphs they wrote for each story. Chinara, if we look at her information, she did 8 paragraphs for each story. So we're gonna give her story 1 went to 8, and story 2 went to 8. Same length, and so I color those in, okay? Now, you need to do the same thing for Alice, Terrell, and Manuel. And like for Alice, her first story went to 3 paragraphs, so it would stop, the bar would stop back here. Her second story went to 6, so that bar would stop out here, right at the 6, okay? And do that for each one of them. That is how you do A, okay? It is also how you do the only problem on the reteaching worksheet, except that they did everything for you here except make the bars. On this one, you're doing the same thing of drawing these 2 bars for Marlena, Quincy, Latricia, and Brandy. The information is here in the chart. You're gonna say, this one is their scores for mini golf, okay? And you're gonna say between round 1 and round 2. You're gonna compare those 2 rounds, okay? So that's how you do that. Now, there's one more problem that you have in the lesson. It's on page 613, it's for B. And you're going to need to make a line graph for this one. So let me show you. I'm going to get you started. I'm giving you so much extra help on this. I'm almost doing the whole lesson for you. Okay? All right. We have information about a science project here. It says, for a science project, Mia and Lonnie each planted a seed. A record of the height of each seedling is shown below. Display the data in a double line graph. Remember the one that we looked at that had the population increase and decrease between Austin and Pittsburgh? Change over time. It's great for line graphs. We're going to show the change in height over time for their little seeds. Okay? So we need to have our graph like this. And we are going to have how high it grew over here. We're going to do 1 centimeter. 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters. How high do we need to go? Ooh, it goes clear to 20. You know what? I'm not going to do it that way. Let's scrap that. Let's go 5, 10, 15, 20. Let's count by 5s, okay? And then we're going to have, over time, this is going to be week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. That's all we had. Okay. So the other thing we have to do is show a legend. We're going to have green line B for Mia. We'll have her be Mia. And we're going to have the red line be Lonnie. Okay, so let's do Mia's. At week 1, it was at 1 centimeter, so it's down here. At week 2, it was at 5. So we'll go to week 2 and put our little dot right there. Week 2, we go up to the 5. Week 3, she was at 11. It's about right there. And week 4, she was at 20. Woo, her little seed grew a lot. So we connect them, and there we go. Okay, now do the same thing for Lonnie and see how well his seed grew. Okay, all right, now the last thing I just want to make sure you know is the worksheet 7.5. All that you have to do is read information off the graph. They give you a bar graph, and then they give you a circle graph. I love circle graphs. Those are very visual for seeing how much of the total you're talking about, okay? So you have just 6 questions on there to answer from those 2 graphs. So these are gonna go quickly for you. I hope you have fun working with graphs. We'll see ya, bye.